Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. And thanks for being with us on this last weekend of July. Can you believe that? August right around the corner, and a little bit of rain last week. I can't believe how the rain helped, in so many plants. Everything just looks so beautiful after being so dry and so wilted with that great rain, and the cool weather we had for a few days was pretty nice. Anyway, welcome to the show this weekend. And, we've been talking about home building and mid-year reports and what's going on in the real estate world, Joe. And I think that when you add it all up, this has been a pretty hot market, don't you think still? I mean, in real estate in general, things are selling. I had a property sit for vacant, nothing for 2 months. And all of a sudden, within 3 days, had 4 people showed it, had like 2 offers, and people wanted to buy it. It's just kind of a crazy market still, but it's good. There's a lot happening.
A lot is happening, and if you think of, we came into the industry 7 years ago, and the whole industry went off the cliff. We've been charting the recovery pretty closely on this show now for pushing 4 plus 5 years. And we've seen that new home building has come back. We talked about that so much with Shelley and with Bob and with our experts on our panels as to how stagnant the home building industry was and how important a factor that was in our economy to have that come up and get going again. So as we've seen that, I think that's the brightest spot of our half-year update, or as we look back on the first half of this year, in the local industry, I think that improvement in our home building.
The turnaround began really last year. Yeah. Brad Bennington's here. He's the CEO, I should say, of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, a member of our real estate show. How you doing today?
Peachy.
End of July.
Yeah. How did we get here so fast?
Are you the bright spot of the first half of the year? You new home builders?
What first half of the year? How did we get here? What are you talking about?
Well, we're in the second half of the year now.
July.
Oh my goodness! Help us.
They go faster as we get older.
Well, here it is. Last year, in the first 6 months of the year, in Jackson County, statistics reported that 96 new homes were built and sold in the first 6 months of 2013.
Through the MLS.
I mean, the recovery. For home building began, I think, right around then, maybe a year earlier. Well, it's picking up steam. It continues because in the first half of this year in Jackson County, that number went to 133.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what's a healthy number, what it should be or what it could be, but it seems like, Brad, that things have turned around as well in that home building, and we need them because we've seen the rental rates, we've seen all these kinds of things there, so we have a pretty good housing shortage around.
Well, see, I think you guys are really smart because you agree with me. I don't know how that works. I just kind of work that way, but no, you're absolutely right. The things are moving along in home construction. So backing up a little bit, there's different things that we look at on how you put the equation together. And of course, one of the things is demand. Does anybody want and need a new home? So that part, you kind of rewind back to the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, we were overproducing the market. Some things happened, and we just quit producing. So we've been underproducing the market for a long time. 2012, we set a record and this is national. It's probably also true locally, but I don't have the numbers locally that I can really say it definitively. But nationally, I can. According to the National Association of Home Builders, 2012 set a record for the fewest number of new homes ever built.
2012.
2012 was the basement. So
really,
yeah,
2012. Okay.
Yeah, in a typical year, in a typical normal year, we'll build about 1.2 million units nationally.
Right.
And in 2012, we were under 300,000.
Wow.
So it was So, but here's the deal. People are moving into Southern Oregon. We have more people here now than there used to be. People want to move here. People like the climate here.
And our population is going to grow faster than it has grown to this point.
Right. So think about putting a spring in compression, right? When you take a spring and you push it together, what does that spring want to do when you let your hands off? That thing wants to go boing. And that's what we're seeing in our housing market is our housing market went into compression for financial and other reasons. People still want to move here. So we have a high demand for the homes that are here, and if you talk to really smart realtors like you guys, what you're going to find is that you actually probably have more customers than you have product to sell them right now. You've got
multiple offers, and
right. You've got people saying, "Sell me a house, sell me a house." And you say, I'm trying. So if you're in the new home business, then the good news is that you've got customers out there. And that's one of the reasons why you see the market being so much more active. Is just that there's that demand that built up over the last few years.
Well, nationally, it's. I mean, we have seen it here. We're seeing it nationally. Though I looked up something online today, and from the National Home Builders Association, it said nationally in June, new housing starts were down 9.3% nationally. Down. Now, that's not the case here. And so it's going to be in pockets we're seeing, I assume by reading this,
right,
that it looks like it's in pockets of the country where it continues to not do well, which is a large part of the country. But in some areas, like Jackson County, it looks like that's not the case. Well, remember last week, we had Colleen Johnson from So Ready with us, and we talked about the economy and how this thing is driving a lot of home building, and I think that's what we're seeing.
I'll bet you that national statistic is Phoenix, Las Vegas, Florida, some of those places
nationally,
that had surplus of properties, a huge surplus of properties they're still trying to get rid of.
Yeah, if you drill down into those numbers, and you guys know this, what you're going to find is that 9% slowdown is regionally weighted.
Yeah.
So it's not
absolutely.
It's not across the board, but there are some areas that are struggling more than others, and and we're in kind of what you guys know and what your listeners know is people like Southern Oregon and they want to live there. They want to come here and live.
Hey, real quickly, Brad, 133 new homes sold through the MLS. Tracking those numbers, we know that others are sold outside of the MLS.
That's right.
Tracking about. Do you have any idea of what the total number might have been for that first 6 months sold in Jackson County, or do you have any gauge on how many more sell outside of the MLS closures?
I would probably add another 10% in there and not be afraid of being wrong. Maybe as high as 20%. Because you're right. Not like for people that carry back contracts and things like that, those don't show up. So there's
another 20 or so.
I'd sure like to know what these 133 are. Because when before the recession, we were building a lot of big mansion type homes, certainly that were very large. And,
you could get the loans to go with those.
Well, we had Steve Asher, who's a builder, on our show, on one of our TV shows with Brad, and he was saying that the average, what do you call it? The average square footage and kinds of things have come down since then.
Yes,
and that people are not seeking that type of large, just kind of, you don't need the space. Why do you have to have that kind of house?
Yeah. Well, the homes, they're not as you just use the word small. They're not anywhere near what we'd call a small home. By any means.
What's the ideal size? 2,000 square feet, 2,200 square feet. Is that what you think? Or
you're finding a lot of homes that are in the 14 to 1,800 range, and there's kind of a real sweet spot around 1,500 feet. 14 to 1,600 feet, you're going to find a lot of people building product because, part of it is the cost factor, but the other part is, we've got a population that's getting a little bit older, and they've decided they don't like housework. We're all a bunch of people out there raising their hands out there.
My 4,300 square foot housework detention center.
Yeah, people just don't want that anymore. They want to be able to shut the door, lock the door, and go play golf or go kayaking or go, and people don't want to be shackled to these big homes with all the maintenance requirements in the way that they used to. So that, along with, and it's a different world financially out there as well. People are just kind of thinking about things differently than they used to.
We're even building homes for people who are aging so that they can stay in their homes. I mean, we're even thinking that far down the line.
There's part of that,
Yeah, where those homes are almost custom built for you to be able to stay and age in your home and in place.
Well, I would certainly think if a person has the wherewithal and the ambition to build their own home, that you're going to incorporate what we've been talking about on these shows into something new, thinking down the road, because that is going to be the standard and the norm. It's already here, but it's down the road when you sell it. And things like single levels, masters on the main level, few stairs, how do you get in and out, wider hallways, bathrooms that are going to be more accessible and things like that. That's really encouraging. And that's what Steve Asher told us, was that is happening. Plus, buyers are demanding more, and this was really encouraging, at least to hear that buyers are demanding more green things, even though you may not see them on the outside.
Yeah,
they are happening inside, aren't they, Brad?
Right.
Isn't that what he told us?
Yeah. Well, green was a buzzword back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and then the buzz kind of went away because everybody just started doing what you would call green normally.
Green became the new norm.
Green
the
became
new standard.
Right.
Yeah.
Green. That's exactly right, Pete. Green became the new normal. And and here's where I'd also like to say that the Home Builders Association doesn't just involve itself with new home construction, although that's a big part of what we do, but we have a real big presence in the remodeling community.
Right.
And when people need information about remodeling, for instance, talking about the aging in place that Joe brought up, we can steer you the right direction. We can help you with your design. Like, for instance, we're going to tell you that you need 42 inches clear inside that hallway. We're going to tell you that when you design that bathroom, you want to be able to have a 5-foot diameter circle in there if you need to get a wheelchair in there. We want to tell you that you want to have a zero clearance threshold on your shower. We want to, we're going to give you information that's going to help you with those design elements because, one of the things that's so important is it's a lot easier to change something on paper before you build it. You guys are laughing. You're laughing.
That's really true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Joe's right. The aging in place thing, that's a big deal. The other thing that's a big deal is people don't want to become slaves to their property in the way that some of them were in times past. People want to enjoy their homes. They want them to be efficient. They don't want them to cost a lot to heat or to cool. And this is just the way things are now. People want value. They want convenience, and they don't want to have more than they absolutely have to take care of.
It's such a win-win. I mean, we're going to save money on our utilities and the operating costs of our household. We're going to save resources. We're going to reduce emissions and all those things that we're trying to be more cognizant and aware of. And it's becoming really more mainstream. Ashland had a great lecture at SU 3 years ago. It's called Ashland, where green is mainstream. And it was just all about that just becoming part of the culture of how people approach the way they live and build and interact in their community.
Yeah, I think it's all good. We're having some good changes and positive things that still keep home builders in and remodelers in. There's lots to do, and we've got lots of homes out there that can still use it, don't we? As much as you think, geez, all this is happening. I think the remodeling world is boy, you've done a lot of that, haven't you, in your life?
Yeah, well, you don't stay in the construction business very long without doing a little bit of remodeling. And I cut my teeth on that pretty hard about 40 years ago. We did, back in the day. And the thing about remodeling is it's a lot of fun. To me, is you take a structure that's got a little gray hair and maybe a little long in the tooth, and you can completely transform that and make it a modern, functional structure that has a new life. That's one of the wonderful things that you can do with housing, and especially in communities, like Pete, I know you live in Ashland, I live in Jacksonville, where you have these wonderful, wonderful historic structures, and boy, are those fun. I mean, you got to do it the right way. Right. Steve Asher, when he was on, he talked about the lead-based paint thing. By the way, anybody that has a home or a structure that was built before 1978. You need to know that anybody that works on that needs to be a lead-based paint certified renovator to do that according to the EPA law. So I need to get that out there. But and if you have any questions, give us a call at the office. But remodeling really does give new life and new meaning and new purpose to some of these older structures that otherwise just aren't making people happy living in them. You go in there. You redo things, you make the appliances functional, you put some insulation in, you make them quiet, you make them easy to heat and cool, and all of a sudden happiness ensues. Everybody is happy with their house now.
And by the way, I'm really happy to see your remodeling crews at my neighbors' houses, up the street, down the street, right next door to me, because as everybody makes those improvements and upgrades to their property, our whole property value is going to raise. Bet. So you lift each other up by modernizing your homes that way and supporting our construction industry and some really excellent professionals out there that can do some amazing things. You can pretty much dream it up and they can do it.
That's right, Joe.
I'm surprised though that we don't knock more old homes and very tiny places that are on pretty nice lots in some of the old neighborhoods that are around. We don't knock more of those down and redo the neighborhoods. Are we going to come back to that?
Because we can't keep going where that's going to be feasible. Right now, that's probably.
Well, we can't keep going out. I mean, I know everybody wants to, go out and further out development, infill. There's a lot of infill. You just drive around. There's a lot of old places that are tiny and small that when you sell, before you're going to go remodel it, rather just anyway. But that would, I think, help the neighborhoods you talk about. Eventually.
Well, you're seeing amazing things happen up in Portland. Up in Portland, which is sort of it's kind of the mothership for Oregon. If you want to find out what's going on, go up to Portland. But infill is big up there. What they call microhousing is starting to catch on up there.
Right, microhousing.
Microhousing. If you have to call us, we'll tell you what that is. But the idea that some of these
explain what microhousing is.
Microhousing. Okay, micro means really, really little, and what you've got is, I'm going to throw a term out that you guys are familiar with called an ADU, an auxiliary dwelling unit. Or some people say, here's a big word, an ancillary dwelling unit. I like auxiliary.
We're probably going to run out of time before you get to so you may have to hold the thought.
I better hold on to that thought.
Microhousing, because I've read a lot about that, and is it going to happen here?
Do I have to reduce my
cities?
physical size?
Who knows? It's going to be interesting. We're with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, on this weekend's Real Estate Show. This show repeats at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and all of our shows are at youtube.com/Real Estate Show Oregon. Don't you dare go away. We're coming right back after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED, AM and FM this weekend. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. And thanks for being with us here. We're with Brad Bennington today, the CEO of the Jackson County Home Builders Association. We're talking all about, mid-year report on home building that's going on in Jackson County, and we're finding out, obviously, that things are looking good compared to nationally in statistics. Home building here is, in fact, doing pretty darn well. Anyway, and that's always something good to see, isn't it? Anyway, welcome back to our show, Brad. Whenever we think, there we go. Whenever we think
let him off the hook.
Right.
I heard bells.
What were those sounds we heard over there?
No, I don't even know what is going on. Anyway, before that break, we just talked about different types of housing and what people are how that's changed a little bit since the Great Recession, and we brought up the word microhousing and tell people what that is, because that's something that I think that afford people. A lot of people do not need. Well, I should say, alternative housing.
I'd say maybe
give people choices, because if you're single is one thing, and if versus if you have a family versus your age, and we don't have enough choices, I don't think, in terms of what's out there. But okay, tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, so the development arc of housing is, we grew up in a day and an age where, we all kind of had quarter-acre lots, with a little 3-foot fence.
Yeah.
And your dad, you could go out in the backyard and throw the football and throw the baseball and, go over and play in the neighbor's yard. But we just don't have suburban development like that very much anymore. Land has gotten more expensive. Houses have gotten more expensive. So we have smaller lots, smaller houses. Somewhere along the way, somebody kind of took that concept and just really sharpened the pencil and came up with this concept called microhousing. And microhousing is, I don't know what the precise definition of it is, but I can give you a size range.
Okay.
It typically houses between 200 and I think it's 550. We'll just say two
to 500 feet, 200 to 600 feet.
Yeah, 200 to 600 square feet is microhousing. And sometimes they have standalone utilities, and sometimes they have shared utilities. It might be sharing bathroom facilities with another structure. But the idea behind it is kind of an intriguing idea. You see a lot of it happening up in Portland. Portland is really pushing for infill, in their community. But the idea is it's asking the question is, how much space do you really need? That that's the question.
How much space? Yes,
right.
Good question.
So if the answer is if all I'm going to do is cook a meal and sleep and watch a little TV once in a while, how much space do I really need if it's just me, or maybe just me and my wife?
Watch my computer. You mean
right.
not? Yeah. They don't have TVs.
Right. Watch.
Mostly playing computer,
right.
Not watch.
Watch Netflix on my computer. Yeah. And the answer for a lot of our young people is, and this kind of gets back to our earlier discussion of the idea, I don't want to be a slave to what I own. Yeah. I don't want what I own to own me. And this new generation, these millennials are changing everything. This 18 to 34 crowd, they don't look at things the way that we did. They have a much different view, and this microhousing makes a lot of sense to some of them.
Oh yeah, and well, if I was to say, if the median price of a new home in Jackson County is $233,000, I can guarantee you that a microhouse is going to be a lot less. And let's just remember one thing. When you look at those MLS statistics every day of what is on the market and what sells, it's not the 300,000 to 400,000. They do sell in that range, but it is the $125,000 to $225,000, $250,000 places. Those are the ones that are selling by far because they're affordable, and that's what most of us can afford versus the larger homes. Okay, having said that, this could be a big boon for something.
Even in the wide open spaces of the United States, our communities, as you said, Brad, are pretty much established. There aren't those big suburban quarter-acre lots out there. The urban growth boundaries don't allow us to just grow out indiscriminately out there. If we're having this discussion in Europe or in Japan, they're years ahead of us. This is a trend over there. I know from my son
that was
Stephen.
by necessity,
absolutely.
Just and sheer size or sheer.
My son Stephen is 25, and his little compadres over there have microhouses. They have their own little place where they base themselves, and then they go work and they go play.
Their idea is not a large house
They
on
already have embraced that and are moving that direction.
That's going to be a market, and that's going to be a niche in the market. Someone's going to find that.
Maybe we'll be able to afford to invest in micro housing, because Pete and I have pretty grand aspirations someday. But
well, Brad can build it for us, and
exactly.
and then we'll go rent it out, or we'll go live in it ourselves. Okay. Well, that's really interesting to see how that goes, and I think you're going to see some of that here eventually.
So this is where I put in just a really quick plug for people that are that you're going to talk to that want to buy a house in the market for houses. This is the best time ever. I mean, there are, and you guys have seen them. There are houses out there that have wonderful value, lots and lots of amenities. And there's still a few of the big lots out there. The further we go down the timeline, the less available those are going to be and the more expensive they're going to be. So for your listeners that are listening to the show, folks, now is the time to buy if you're a qualified
Interest
buyer.
rates are still so competitively good, and that's going to change.
Well,
we're not.
We heard that a year ago. They're going to change, and they haven't really done that.
We are not going to be talking about 4% interest rates on housing.
I don't know about that.
I bet we're not.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'd put a hamburger on that.
I'd put a cheeseburger on that. I'm with Joe on that one.
Well, so far people have predicted all sorts of things that haven't come true in the housing market, have they?
Yeah.
That's a tough animal to predict.
We'll find out how that goes. Well, I don't know what you're doing on September 12th, 13th, and 14th of September, but you probably want to get your iPhone out right now and put it in your calendar.
I'm looking for windows
because that's going to be
windows. I need new flooring
because that's going to be the weekend of the Southern Oregon Home Show. The Home Builders Association of Jackson County have been doing. How many years has that thing been going on? I mean, I tell you, at the beginning of the show, when I was a kid, I went to the home shows. So they've been around. That was in the 50s. In the 50s. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have they been around?
Yeah. Seems to me that we got it started in 1986.
86?
I think and if I'm off, I don't think I'm off much. I think it's somewhere between 83 and 86.
Okay. All right.
Somewhere in there. I think.
Well, I remember when I was in the news business here, going to the home show, because it was one of the stops you made to do those. You'd think that maybe some of that stuff runs its course, and then nobody likes to go to that kind of stuff, or that you don't do them anymore. Why? You put this forth. Why do you do this? And it's coming up, and we want people to make sure they go to it, and possibly think about joining it for an exhibit, because it's probably the best show with the most people that you can get to in the course of the year.
Homeowners all right there in one place.
You bet, yeah. Well, one of the most expensive things that anybody's ever going to buy is their home. And they typically don't buy one very often. So people are very interested in their home. They're interested in the size of it. They're interested in the amenities. They're interested in, how much it costs to heat it and cool it. They're interested in what they want to put in it. They're interested now. They want to take care of the yard around it, so they're interested in all these things, and that's why they're
interested in what they're going to get out of it.
Interested in what they're going to get out of it. Yeah, if they're a seller. So people, especially people in our generation, are we just love going out. I mean, you go out and manicure the lawn. You're pulling and you just have it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do it. So people love their homes. They love to work on their homes. They love to, as Joe pointed out, they love to sell their homes and make money so they can buy a new home. Mm-hmm. And when you go to the home show, you get to see it all right there. You get to see windows and doors and amenities and appliances and landscape the landscape products we had.
It's been a big growth. People are really into that, aren't they? That's kind of the
big
new
growth. Yeah, I'm gonna say, and I don't think I'm gonna be wrong here. I'm gonna say that our landscape contractors that came and put on displays at our last home show, I think they probably brought close to 100 tons of landscape materials. I'm not kidding you.
Really? Yeah.
Truck
I
after
believe
truck
that, yeah.
after truck with forklifts to put the displays out for the public, and so. You can't go anywhere else and see these materials in the kind of displays that our contractors do unless you go to the home show.
Yeah, you can't go down to the mall or the and see any of that stuff. It's not the same.
It's a gold mine for information because you could talk to these people who are experts in all these different areas too, and just kind of pick their brain a little bit and kind of find out more about what your situation might be or how to remedy it or best take care of it.
Right. And you know, Joe, you're absolutely right. And one of our perennial most popular vendors down there is Leave Your Mark Construction. They have free seminars. They'll show you how to use all their products absolutely free.
Yeah. Well, that's coming up in September 12th, 13th, and 14th, the home show.
Did they have
put on by the
courses?
Home Builders.
Might take a couple for me.
County. Anyway, hope you'll join us then. We'll be out there, by the way, and can't wait to see that and see what's new. Always something well. The Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED. Final segment right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend, last weekend of July of 2014. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you, and hope you're enjoying your summer. Got a little bit of relief with some rain and some cool temperatures. It was sure nice for a while, wasn't it? Now
it's
we're
over.
Back to normal, isn't it? It's summer. Next week, we're going to give you a mid-year update on the water situation in Jackson County with Steve Mason from the WISE Project. A year ago, he was here and gave us those reports of the reservoirs. Remember that? And we'll check with him next week and see where they are today in August. We're going to be in August next week.
I will say the thunderstorms put a little bit of flow back into Bear Creek and the Rogue River for a day or two.
I was over in the desert last weekend over in Eastern Oregon with the Order of the Antelope in there. Boy, they'll tell you the desert is pretty dry, as you can imagine. But still, you wouldn't think you'd see any animals, and yet there's still water out there, and we saw hundreds of antelope. Mule deer. It was amazing. Anyway, you think
that's because of your dedicated effort to go over there every summer and eat and drink to support the Order of the Antelope.
And they raise lots of money, and the things are doing well. I love it. Anyway, we're talking with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, this weekend on the Real Estate Show. And we were talking about the home show coming up September 12th, 13th, and 14th out at the Expo Park. And it's such a big event. They're great events. People to come into it. What type of business? Who can come to it and build a booth in it? Because you got to have booths. So who can do this?
Well, yeah. I mean, the people come to see the vendors. The vendors come to see the people. It's where you can go, and anything that has to do with your home, and actually, a whole bunch of stuff that's even above and beyond your home. If it has to do with your home, it's there. You can come and see it. The vendors are there for you to see them. It's a conversation that people just love to have. The vendors love to be there to see the people, and the people love to come to see the vendors.
Can I find insurance help?
You bet.
Can I
what
find
kind of vendors there? Yeah.
Pest and dry rot help?
You bet. We've got, if you want remodelers, we've got remodelers, we've got windows, we've got doors, we've got insurance, we've got bank people. If you need financing, if you need mortgage financing, you need refinancing. It's everything in one place that has anything to do with your home, financially, physically, landscape-wise, you name it, it's there, and it's beautiful, and it's right there for you to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kathy is the person down at the Home Builder's office who really does the work. Brad's kind of really the front guy.
That's right.
The pretty face out front.
The ladies do the work down there.
Well, yeah.
And Kathy, Kathy at hbajc.com.
Right.
You can email her, or you can certainly call the Home Builder's office, and she can give you the information and send you a packet, because you like to have new people there. And I mean, I think that over each year we have new entrepreneurs who come into this market.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better way to introduce yourself, or even if you're in new business for a few years, what a great way to introduce yourself to large numbers of people than going to the home shows and being one of the booth participants.
You bet. And if you've got an existing home, you want to be there to see the new amenities that are available, to see the new windows, the new doors. If you if there's anything at all, it's there. We have it, and we have a lot of it. And the thing about home construction is, folks, it's a moving target.
It's evolving.
Everything changes. We have the heating and cooling equipment that we have today. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's 3 times more efficient than it was just a few years ago. So if you don't like the size of your electric bill, and if you're kind of wondering if that, maybe your air conditioner is not more than a year or two from being replaced, or your heating unit, come down to the home show and see what's new and exciting. You might find things are a whole lot more affordable than you thought, and lower your energy bills.
And so much more, as you call energy efficient. I love to go there for those types of things because the infrastructure of my house, you got to replace it every so many years.
You're in the midst of that in a big way.
You can't live someplace for 20 years now and not look at, well, how is this working? But you're right. The efficiency, the way products have evolved and changed, is what to me is the coolest part of the home shows because you can see them there, and we're talking everything. I mean, from the latest in paint types of things, everything imaginable.
Green technology.
That's what I like about going out there and seeing that.
And the other thing I like to remind people is the Home Builders it's a not-for-profit. We are a community resource that's there to help you.
Yep.
We are operated by volunteers. We're a 501c6 not-for-profit. We're here to be part of our community, to help our community. The other day, somebody called me up and they said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but my door, when the ground is wet, I can't open my door, and when the ground dries out, it goes the other way." And I was able to have a conversation with that person at no cost to them at all. We figured out what they needed to do, got them headed in the right direction, pointed toward a good contractor that can do the job for them, and they were confident that they knew what was going on. And we love to help people that way.
God, I got a list I'll bring to the next show. We'll just go down the list. And you point me in the right directions.
What do you do?
I'll need to sell a few homes to get it all done.
Well, hopefully, if you're interested with that, again, Kathy down at the Home Builders Association is the person to contact, and she can give you that information. It would be really great to see new businesses, new people who come into our valley. Obviously, there's something going on. There's a lot happening, and that usually spells good news for the home show because when there's a lot going on, it just generates a lot of enthusiasm, as I'm sure compared to probably 2009 when
we built no new homes this year.
When there was nothing going on, but we're still having the home show. Yeah, and Brad was still there saying, we got to do better. We got to have more people.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's supply and demand, and that's how it works. Why should I join the Home Builders? I mean, Joe and I are Table Rock Productions. Of course, Brad says you will join the Home Builders. And we say, yes, we do because we work with you. Yeah. We should do that. But why is it important for the industry itself? We are part of the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors because we have to. We got to join them. You got to pay their fees and their dues. You don't have to join the Home Builders Association, but even if I'm a professional in this industry, I would want to be in that.
Yeah. Yeah, people ask that, why do I want to become a member? What can you do for me? Okay, and the answer, what can you do for me? I've got a list that's pretty long that I can answer that question for you, and depending on what your business is, and I'm not going to go over that here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, we have already done so much. Wouldn't you like to support a company, an organization that's run by volunteers that puts all their profits back into the community, that supports an industry that creates $4 of positive financial benefit for every dollar that goes into new home construction? If we think about some of those really unpleasant discussions we had about figuring out how we were going to fund schools and teachers and how we were going to pay for libraries, the reason we're having those discussions is because there's been such an erosion in value and land values, most of it tied to homes. So what we do in the home building industry, what we do at the Home Builders is we work with the community, we work with the legislators, we work with the tradespeople and the practitioners to make sure that the homes that are built are valuable, to make sure that they have consistent value, to make sure that they're affordable, to make sure that they're easy to heat and easy to cool. And we are the only organization that does that. We are the gatekeepers of home value in our community.
And being a member, Pete, we're going to be able to serve our clients so much better because we're going to know the ins and outs and know these people who do this business.
Well, they'll do it for the real estate show. Brad, nice to visit with you. We'll see you at the home show September 12th, 13th, and 14th. Don't forget it. We'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. That'll do it for this weekend's real estate show for Pete and Joe. Have a great week, everybody. God bless, and we'll talk to you next weekend here on KMED.
Thank you for listening to the Original Real Estate Show with Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys. For advice, guidance, or counsel on any of our topics, or to watch a replay of today's show, visit our website at realestateshoworegon.com. This show is sponsored by RE/MAX, Ideal Brokers of Southern Oregon, Ticor Title, All Cities Property Management, and the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. We'll continue our weekly quest to enhance the value of your property and to make you a smart real estate consumer when we gather every Saturday and Sunday on KMED for the one and only original real estate show.